Okay, so my name is Boland and my presentation will be on the topic Are Video Games Art? So a lot of people have a very broad definition of art that can range something like something that evokes emotions from the user, but that is too broad to entice any sort of meaningful discussion. So for the sake of discussion, we're going to narrow it down a bit. We're going to look at some of the work of Arthur Schopenhauer. He was a 19th century German philosopher who was very prominent in the field of art and aesthetics. He defined art as a perception of the world through the artist's view, and some sort of innate genius is required to make the art. So a person that has this genius often neglects the business of life, which he defined as the will. So Schopenhauer defined the will as what drives the human being. So their desires, their urges, their cravings, and through this will we find all human suffering, because you wanting more, needing more, ends up with you missing your goals, failing in life, and this is where we find all our pain and suffering. And so art in relation to the will, he offered art as a means of escaping the will. So you can, through viewing art, you can provide a temporary relief to the pain that everyday life brings. And through contemplating art, you're no longer an individual with a will, you're subject to the artist's idea that he's portraying. So your own needs and wants are irrelevant. You're not thinking about, I need to get this promotion, I need to earn more money, I need a better car. You're just viewing the artist's piece, and that's all that matters to you. Now, a video game has a goal that you have to achieve. It has a set of rules achieving this goal, and it has obstacles and competition to achieve the goal. So failure to achieve the goal occurs by definition of a video game, and this contradicts the purpose of art according to Schopenhauer. Because by playing a game, you're driven completely by your will to succeed, to beat the other player, to beat the computer, and your desire to be successful and your desire for validation. And thus, suffering can be caused while playing a game. Any failure to complete goals can lead to anger, frustration, contempt for the other player. You'll see it a lot in online communities. There's rage quitting, trash talk, even violence, breaking controllers, all sorts of things. I'm sure people here have experienced it. So another view of why games mightn't be considered art. A lot of people bring up the example of, look at this beautiful picture in a game, hence games are art. But if you take chess as an example, if anyone's seen the TV show The Wire, there's a scene where Bodie and Wallace are playing checkers but with a chessboard, and D'Angelo comes over and eventually teaches them to play chess instead. But the point being, the game they're playing is checkers, but they're using aesthetically the pieces are chess pieces. So really the aesthetic properties, while they enhance the game, they're not the game itself. The game they're playing is still checkers, even though they're using the chess pieces. So you can't say that just because the aesthetics of the game are aesthetically pleasing, the game itself may not be considered art. The game itself is the objective, the rules of the competition, therefore that's what we should be considering when we decide whether or not the medium can be considered art. In my essay, I want to further research other maybe philosophers' views on art, and maybe draw some comparisons between an artist and a game developer and see if there are similarities that can be drawn. And also I'll be finding some arguments in favour of that games can be art to balance the view. That's all. If anyone has any questions, they can ask away.
Artists will tell you.
Sorry?
What do you believe yourself?
I believe that as of yet I haven't really seen anything to convince me that games are art. I think possibly in the future they could be, but it would require someone to, it would require that genius of someone to really push it to the next kind of level.
Would you consider, have you looked at any other definitions aside from this one definition of art that you're using?
Usually it's common in the definition that the art is a perception from the artist. And whereas in a game, the game itself is the rules, not the actual aesthetics or any sort of view. Like the story of a game isn't the game itself. You're still playing to the rules, the competition, the goals. Whereas the story might have come from the developer's personal being, but the game mechanics itself aren't, they don't seem personal to me. That's what I
Yeah, but have you looked at any other definitions is what I'm asking?
Yeah, for the sake of the essay I said that I will be exploring other people's, yeah.
That's fine.
But yeah, for this presentation it was only the one kind of.
David Roger Ebert, he has a great view of how games aren't.
Yeah.
It's really interesting. Really important.
Yeah, I think some of what he said was kind of similar in that he, he was saying that the game. Oh yeah, I can't really remember.
Yeah,
I did. Yeah, I
they're
did read
great
it.
works of craftsmanship, but the added art.
Yeah,
What if the games use the gameplay to enhance the story? Like in The Last of Us, they originally wanted to tell the story and they didn't want the infected to be part of the game, like part of the gameplay, but then they decided to put them in so the player realized like how tough the infected are, so they can relate more easily to the characters in the story. So like you know, like when you're reading a story about zombies, you don't really feel how strong they are, but when you're playing against them and they kill you, they're more scary. So
yeah,
they use the gameplay to enhance the story.
yeah. That's a good point.
Would that make the game be considered art as well?
It would again depend on your definition, but the gameplay enhancing the story would still, to me, say which are you trying to say is art? Are you trying to say the story is art and that the gameplay is enhancing the story, or the other way around? You know what I mean? So kind of as well, ludology versus narratology would come into it as well. Whether we're trying to, because the narratologist would believe that the story is the key to everything, so they would be looking at more towards the story's art, but the ludologist would be more focused on the gameplay side of it.
You could do a section on it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Who's the person that says video games are art, and what happens after that? So when they're art, okay, we've done it, we've made it, we stop making video games. Because that is because, okay, we're done now. Anything made before this is art, and now it's a masterpiece. Let's just stop making video games. Like, I'm going to do are esports real sports? Doesn't matter. I don't think it does.
Again,
It's for credibility.
Yeah. Do gamers have like the need for validation or something?
Yeah, that's what it is. How can you be taken seriously if you're not art?
Yeah,
That
people,
isn't academic work.
people slag off video games so much that we have to say, oh look, now they're art. Oh look, they're real sports. But it doesn't really matter at all.
and again, just going back to what he said about narratology versus ludology, again, does it matter?
Do you think art pieces come as a side effect of making a game? Like you could say the soundtrack of a game is a piece of art, but it only came from making the game.
I've never really.
Or like video games inspiring art, like Space Invaders.
I've
Like
never
that
seen.
art is Space Invaders.
The art piece is still not like the inspiration. A chair could be the inspiration for the art piece, but the chair itself isn't the art piece.
Why not?
Like if a game
Ignore
is
it.
around long enough that it's part of popular culture, like and it's actually being referenced in a vintage sort of way, but then you say that video games can't be art. Or, you know, there's debate about it, where there's games that are 40 years old that are inspiring people to create art today. It kind
That
of takes,
doesn't define them as art though.
but like,
War inspires art as well, but war isn't art.
There's a massive
Sun
debate
Tzu.
on whether or not what can be art or there can be any art form or something like that. It's a massive.
But again, that would be what I was saying about too broad a definition, because literally anything in our world can inspire art.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean every single thing in our world is art.
You'd be referencing the fountain then. It could be a huge, huge, huge topic for you. One last question. What attracted you to Schopenhauer?
He was a lot of the kind of. He was one that was easily kind of. I could actually
Understand.
kind of follow what he was getting at, whereas a lot of them will.
Are a bit too academic in their.
Yeah, I'm not an art student. I'm a video game, so I was looking for something that was slightly accessible.
Well, what's very accessible is Taverner is a New Zealand philosopher, and he came up with this cluster theory. No, he didn't come up with it. He used the cluster theory of art. What's used before. So he's very good. The art of video games. He called it. You know, just for looking for balance.
Yeah.
You know. Oh. Yeah. Okay, guys. Thank you very much, Luke.